Howdy once again, Pre-Calc students. Time for another online lesson, this time on graphing linear equations. This one I think you're pretty familiar with. You've done quite a bit of graphing in your mathematical career up to this point, so it should be pretty good. So first of all, just some basic terminology here. Slope, of course, means the steepness of the line, often called the rate of change. And just to review a couple of things, when you see a line that goes upward like this from left to right, of course that has a positive slope. If you see a line that goes the other direction, down like this, falls from left to right, that's a negative slope. Now, sometimes what gets kids confused a bit are what about when you have a horizontal line, a somewhat horizontal line like that, and a vertical line like this. What do we know about the slopes of those? Well, this horizontal line we say has a slope of 0. No steepness at all to that. The vertical line, sometimes we'd said no slope, but that gets a little confusing, so probably better to call this undefined is a better way to talk about the slope of a vertical line. Another key term is intercepts, where the graph crosses the axis. And we'll look at intercepts when we look at graphing both the x and the y intercept. Zeros is another term that we use quite frequently. A little bit confusing for students, but it's really the x value when y is equal to 0. So just a quick example on intercepts here. Let's just say we had the little equation 2x minus 5 equals 0, and we ask you what is the 0 of that equation. So that does not mean to put 0 in place of x, but it means what is that x value going to be, so this does equal 0. So I could add 5 to each side like this, and then divide by 2, so I'd get x equals 5 halves, or 2 1/2. That's called the 0 of that particular function. Actually, it wouldn't be equal to 0 at first, probably. We would have it equal to either y or the f of x, actually. All right, now just some basic forms that you have seen before in your lifetime, I'm sure. The slope-intercept form, the most famous and oft used linear form, is y equals mx plus b. And of course you know that the slope here is represented by the letter m, and this b then is called the y-intercept. And we'll be graphing this in a little bit. I'm sure you remember how to do those. And then another particular form that we use quite often is called standard form. That looks like this: ax plus by equals c. Our textbook might switch that c around a little bit so it equals 0, but this is a preferred standard form. And the a and the b here, those have to be, and actually c for that matter, all have to be integers, which means nice numbers, of course. And we generally like a to be greater than or equal to 0. So you've seen all those things before. So our emphasis on this lesson is actually graphing linear equations. So let's take a look. All right, so first one here is in that slope-intercept form, y equals 2/5 x minus 4. So typically what we'd want to do is focus in on this, called the y-intercept. That's what we want to graph right away. So at -4, I'm going to put a dot here if I can. Fairly close. This is tougher than it looks to draw on this iPad. That's my y-intercept. And then I look at my slope, which in this case is 2/5. So I'm going to count for my y-intercept. I'm going to go up 2 and over 4. So I make another dot right about there. And I can keep doing that. I can go up 2 and over 4 once again to get another dot there. I can also go down 2 and back 4. So I get a dot like that. Preferably then you would have a straight edge and you can connect those up, and sure enough there's your line. So using that slope-intercept form, that's kind of a surefire way of graphing lines. Now, this next one here is a little tricky. This you might recognize as in standard form. You could always get it back in this y-intercept form by solving for y. That's a surefire way of doing it. We'll practice on that in class. But sometimes it's kind of nice to keep it in this standard form and graph it by the method of intercepts. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a little chart here, x and y, and I'm going to put 0 in for x. When I do that, of course, I know that 2 times 0 is 0, so basically that is all gone. Then I'm left with 3y equaling 12, and 3 times 4 equals 12. So this generates an ordered pair for me, 0, 4, which is right there. And so, of course, that's the y-intercept. Now I can also find the x-intercept by simply putting 0 in place of y. And so if I do that, you see that this whole term has been eliminated, and I really then just have 2x equaling 12, and so x must be then 6. I can plot that. 6 would be considered my x-intercept. I can then draw a line between those, kind of missed on that x-intercept there. You'll do better. So that's kind of a slick way of graphing these lines that are in standard form. Now the danger here is that you just have 2 points. That's all we really need to be able to graph lines. But if you mess up on one of those, that's going to cause you to make an error on your graph. So fairly nice, but be careful. The slide here has a couple more examples. I'd like you to pause your video and just see if you could graph those very quickly. And then I'll show you what they should look like so you can check your answer. Alright, here's the first one. Notice this is in the slope-intercept form. My y-intercept is 3. That's what I want to graph first. That's always going to be on that y-axis. There's 3 right there. And here's my slope, negative 7/2. I remember that because it's negative, it's going to be a line that falls from left to right. So I'm going to go down 7. So if I'm at 3 and go down 7, that's going to take me to negative 4. And then I'm going to go over 2 like that. So there's my slope of negative 7/2. I could also count that either going up or going down again, but let's see, if I go up, that's going to take me to 10 all the way up there and then 2 back like that. So my line is going to be a pretty steep negative line that looks about like that. Now going to my next one here. Again, this is in that standard form. I kind of like making this little chart. You don't have to. You could get it in that slope-intercept form again. This time I put 0 in for x, and so the x is canceled out here then a little bit. I have negative 4. Watch out for that sign. Negative 4y equals negative 8, and so y must be 2. Then I do the same thing and put 0 in for y. That leaves me with 2x equaling negative 8. So negative 4 would be my x value. So here's 0, 2, and negative 4 is 0, right like that. And sure enough, there's the graph of my line like that. So there you go. This lesson will be quite a bit of graphing, linear equations, and some other basic application problems related to that. So I think you'll be able to do fine. So we'll see you soon. Bye now.